In a recent podcast, I heard you say something which is very true, but people don't want to hear it. You said women who wear weaves are not at peace with themselves, right? I felt you should have added the men and people who are a part of this epidemic of cosmetic surgery. A lot of times people, the big thing is the BBL, right? But we approach it from a more humorous standpoint. Ha, ha, ha. There's nothing funny about it. When I see people with weaves, when I see people with the silicone and the BBLs, I see inner turmoil.
Of course.
I see a lot of struggle where you are so displeased with yourself that you put yourself through the surgery.
Of course.
There's nothing to be joked about. I think we joke about it too much and we criticize it too much from a comedy standpoint. And we don't see the psychological impact or the psychological turmoil, spiritual turmoil a person's experiencing to do these things to themselves.
I would say, as I've often said, that people who are not at peace with themselves will often try to reinvent themselves from the outside in. You can't reinvent yourself from the outside in. You have to reinvent yourself from the inside out. All this surgery, cosmetic surgery, men and women, all this wig and weave and European hair color, all of this are signs that the person wasting all this money on trying to look like a different person is not at peace with themselves. They are not happy people. You can't be. Happy people are not overly preoccupied with how they appear to others. That is a mental illness, to be that preoccupied with your physical appearance that everything else in your life takes a back seat. And my biggest concern for my sisters, and I love all of them, you know, whether they are artificial or real. Let me clarify that. I love them if they are getting surgery, not if they're changing their gender. I got an issue with the whole childhood transgender movement, but just sisters who are getting surgery to look more womanly. My concern for them is when they become elders, when you get older, you got artificial breasts, you got artificial buttocks. What is going to happen when you're 70 years old? What happens to those breasts when they get heavy and saggy? What happens to those buttocks? What happened to those packs inside your body when they begin to bust? I don't think our black women are looking down the road long enough to life after their prime when they are still going to have these artificial objects in their body. Are you going to get them surgically removed? Maybe they'll just get them surgically removed at that time, I guess. Is there any research that discusses how toxic fake breasts are after a certain amount of time? Is there any research that addresses how toxic the butt injections or the butt implants are after a certain amount of time? Do black women even know whether these things are cancerous after a certain amount of time, as we now know the fake hair to be? I'm just concerned for the long-term health of black women. And for those black women who are carrying a child, how does that affect your ability to carry your child if you got a tummy tuck, if you got liposuction, if you got a part of your stomach taken out so you can only eat so much food so you don't get overweight again? What about the baby? If you got breast injections, can you still breastfeed? If you got breast implants, can you still breastfeed? I just think a lot of this artificial making over that black women are engaging in, it's going to stop a lot of them from being effective mothers. And to be honest with you, as a mother with an artificial body to a biological daughter, what is the message you are sending your daughter at 12 and 13 when she see mom comes home with new fake breasts, fake buttocks? Are you not teaching your daughter that what she has on her body sexually is more important than anything else she has? And to me, that's the message that black girls are getting. How I look is far more important than who I am, what I think, and what I have to offer the world. I think it's a very dangerous message that's going out to men about black women.
Well, what about the psychological?
Well, as far as the psychological impact of it, I believe the psychological damage is already done once you get on the table. I think the psychological issues are impacted even further by the fact that after a certain amount of time, a lot of these women are not even content with the new body they have because they don't understand how the mind works. If you are not at peace with yourself, it's because of something going on inside. You transform the outside, and after the honeymoon period of the new breasts and buttocks is over, you still back to not feeling good about yourself. So now you want to go back out and get some more surgery, i.e. Little Kim. And I'm not picking on my sister, Little Kim, but from what I understand from her history, she was psychologically abused by her father. And I don't know her whole life, but I saw a documentary speaking to how Little Kim was psychologically abused by her father. And I believe that that played a big role in why she underwent so much surgery. Little Kim was beautiful. Little Kim didn't need any surgery. She was a drop dead gorgeous woman. She didn't need the surgery. But because of what was done to her by her father, I believe, and I could be wrong, just with the limited information that I have, I believe that had a lot to do with why Little Kim went on the slicing table. And I think that has a lot to do with why a lot of black women go on the slicing table, being rejected by men, mistreated by men, abandoned by their parents, or ridiculed for their physical appearance. Michael Jackson is a good example. Michael Jackson is the best male example of surgery being performed on your external self for problems going on in the internal self. Michael Jackson was robbed of his childhood. Michael Jackson was physically abused by his father. Michael Jackson often spoke of how his peers would talk about his big nose. Michael Jackson was traumatized by his own people for how he looked. And as a result of that, he desecrated himself physically. It's the same thing black women are doing. Someone made them feel insecure and unvalued as who they were. And so they're now seeking to reinvent themselves artificially on the surgeon's table. And it's a very dangerous thing to do.
And we spoke about the physical, we have the psychological, and the last thing people listening need to know about is the financial burden. A lot of these surgeries are done through credit.
Are done through
credit.
I wasn't aware that so many surgeries are done through credit, but I tell you something I experienced recently. I was in the airport in the Dominican Republic coming back from Guadeloupe. And I didn't get a chance to venture out into the community. It was only the airport, but I had like a 4-hour layover. And every woman who passed me was voluptuous. It took me a minute to catch on. But I'm like, every woman is super. I mean, the best bodies you ever see in your life. And then it just hit me. And I text one of my female associates and I said, where do most surgery get done? And she mentioned the Dominican Republic as one of the top destinations for the surgery because it didn't hit me at first. I said, wait a minute, all these women are just super, the Dominican Republic, they're just born like this? Then I said, wait a minute, this might be a surgery place. And that's when I found out that it was, but a lot of them will sacrifice. They sacrifice, they put up, they save their money. A lot of them are middle-class black women who can afford it. As you said, some of them are sisters who struggle financially and they do it through credit or they do it through whatever they got to do to get that money up, and it's just a shame. It's just a shame that we as black people have become so spiritually famished that we now feel that we have to desecrate our bodies in order to feel better about ourselves.